spent a wild night with strangers just to wake up in a hospital and find out my husband had vanished.
Have you ever woken up in a hospital surrounded by strangers with no memory of how you got there? Sometimes you ask yourself why you get married or how it would have been if you didn't get married. Not to your husband only, but how it would have been if you were not married at all. I just don't understand people who change after they get married. I mean, my husband, or must I say my ex-husband, was giving me so much love and attention before we got married, but after like a year into our marriage, he changed to be someone that I don't even know. It's more like I got a false advertisement of him. I love my husband dearly, but I just felt unappreciated and misunderstood in our marriage. As the years went by, he seemed to give me less and less attention. I started to wonder if I made the right decision marrying him. Every year I thought he was going to change. We were emotionally distant while in the same place. He didn't look at me the same way he usually did. I tried to even change the way I looked, went to the gym, and even bought myself some new clothes so he could notice me. I would sometimes ask myself if he didn't find me attractive anymore, or maybe he had found someone else better than me. But why not divorce me or tell me straight in the face that you have lost attraction or you no longer feel me anymore, because stringing a person along while you know that you no longer feel them or love them anymore hurts more than receiving divorce papers or breakups and not getting any explanation for the separation. I don't know if you understand what I mean. So I, 33, met my husband, 42, on a plane coming back to California from London. He was sitting beside me and we had a long conversation. It was lovely. Well, I had gone to London to attend my sister's wedding. Martin was a very smart, handsome, and funny man to be around. You know, when you just connect with someone on the first day of seeing or meeting them. That was me and Martin. We just clicked, you know. We had a lot in common and our goals collided. He was that missing piece I've been looking for all those years. We started dating after 3 months of being friends and spending more time together. And every moment was never a dull moment. It was great. He used to fulfill my desires and give me everything I needed from a man he supported, and most of all, he understood. We got married after a year into our relationship. I wish I knew what happened to my husband that made him so disconnected. After a year and a half on our marriage, Martin started going out a lot. He would say he was going on a business trip, or if he was around, he would just focus on his work or go out with his associates and friends. I would be left alone in the house, all bored and lonely. Despite my efforts to communicate with Martin and express my feelings, he seemed to be too caught up in his own world to listen. I felt like I was living with a stranger, and the love and connection we once shared had vanished. I had been so patient with him, thinking he would change and become the person he was before he got married, you know. I had that hope because I would address the issue to him and would just apologize and promise to change. But after some time and years of not getting attention from my husband, I got tired of being an understanding and patient woman. So I started seeking that attention elsewhere, where I felt wanted and appreciated. A lot was happening in our relationship to a point that I would somehow feel like I was going back to my past life, whereby I was drinking a lot, partying a lot, and had flings here and there with men. I had no control over myself, and that had started when I lost my father in a shooting that had taken place between some gangsters in the police department. My father was a cop, so he actually passed on while on duty. I was shattered when I heard about his passing, and I somehow lost myself. Another thing, Martin was not always available since he was an event coordinator. His job demanded his most attention and time. So that kind of affected me because his events would take most of his time to a point that he wouldn't have time for me. His attention was something that I would only look at our pictures and remind myself of our old happy and less busy days. Martin would go maybe to another city or to another country to host an event, and he would go for days, if not weeks or months. His traveling made things really hard for us, especially for me, because even our intimate moments were no longer the same. I loved Martin a lot, and heck, I still love the guy. The relationship really meant a lot to me. It was so special. So one day when Martin was outside the country with work, I was left in the house all alone, bored. Since I had no friends or close relatives, the house was truly boring and lonely. Martin was the only friend I had, and he was also my best friend. I tried staying indoors the first 2 days that Martin went on, but I couldn't stay in any longer. So I decided to go and get some fresh air. As I was still sitting in one of the restaurants, I was approached by my long-lost gay friend. Cody, gay friend, male 31. Was actually my best friend in high school, but we lost contact when he moved to Monaco for school. I was so happy to see my friend after a long time of not seeing him and not knowing how to reach out to him. I didn't regret getting out of the house that day because it made me reunite with my friend. I know that if Martin was to learn that I had a gay friend, he would flip, because in his head he believes that there's no such thing as gay because we would be getting along with men who pretend to be women. We once had a talk about gays when we were watching some movie that had gays, and he asked a very awkward and weird question about the LGBTQ+ genders. It was a Friday night, and I desperately needed a break. The past few months had been a whirlwind of work and responsibilities. My husband Martin and I had been drifting apart, caught up in our own worlds. When my bestie Cody suggested a night out, I jumped at the chance. Martin encouraged me to go. "Have fun, Rachel. You deserve it," he said with a smile that seemed more distant than warm when I was on a video call with him. Cody and I arrived at a popular downtown bar, the kind with pulsing music and dim lighting. We found a table near the dance floor and ordered drinks. The crowd was lively, and the energy was infectious. After a few drinks, I felt my stress melting away. As the night progressed, a group of strangers joined us. They were friendly, charming, and seemed just as eager to have a good time. One of them, a tall man with dark hair and a captivating smile, introduced himself as Alex. He was charismatic and attentive, making sure my drink was never empty and that I was having a good time. We danced and laughed, the night turning into a blur of lights and music. At some point, Cody suggested shots, and before I knew it, I was taking tequila shots with Alex and his friends. The world spun in a pleasant haze, and I felt more alive than I had in months. The party went on. I was drinking like a fish. Not because I had problems or anything, but I just wanted to have some fun and let loose. Plus, I wanted to enjoy my time with my best friend. I had switched off my phone the minute I got into the gate. I had left home with the intention to have fun and be myself for once. I was starting to feel like I was a relative of the house furniture when I was always in the house. The party was in full swing when I arrived. There were laughs, music, and good vibes all around. I was enjoying myself, mingling with new people and forgetting about the stress of everyday life. It felt liberating to be in the moment and embrace the carefree atmosphere. I was having so much fun and the drinks were flowing. No one was asking anyone any questions. No one cared about you or what you do. The only thing that brought us together was the party and letting loose. As the night went on, I may have gotten carried away with the excitement. I let loose and had a few too many drinks. Time seemed to fly by, and before I knew it, it was time to head home. Mind you, the time was almost after 3 in the a.m.s, meaning I had lost track of time to get home, but I didn't care because I thought that there was no one at the house. The guys suggested that we went to the nearest hotel to continue with the party. Well, one of them knew the birthday girl, so I didn't have a problem moving the party with them to another club because the one we were in was closing. When we got to the club, the party continued and we had so much fun. I noticed a familiar face in that club, and I think it was one of Martin's friends, even though I was really out of it. But I wouldn't have mistaken that face no matter how intoxicated I was. The party went on till the following day. Everyone was out of it, but something happened that night and I do not remember it because I was really blackouted. The last clear memory I have of that night is standing outside the bar laughing with Alex and Cody. The cool night air was refreshing and everything seemed perfect. We decided to head to another club and I remember getting into a taxi with Alex and a few others. After that, everything fades into darkness. I woke up to the harsh fluorescent lights of a hospital room. The sterile smell and the beeping of monitors filled my senses. My head throbbed and my mouth was dry. I tried to sit up, but a wave of dizziness forced me back down. A nurse noticed I was awake and came over. "Take it easy," she said gently. "You've had a rough night." "What happened?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "You were brought in early this morning," she explained. "You were unconscious and it looks like you had a reaction to something. We're still running tests to find out what." My mind raced, trying to piece together the events of the night before. The faces of the strangers, the dancing, the drinks. It was all a blur. But one thought cut through the haze with crystal clarity. Martin. I needed to call Martin. "Where's my husband?" I asked, panic creeping into my voice. "I need to talk to him." The nurse hesitated. "I'm sorry, but we don't have any information about him. Do you have his contact information?" I fumbled for my phone, but it wasn't there. My purse, my wallet, everything was missing. The nurse handed me a phone, and with shaking hands, I dialed Martin's number. It rang and rang, but there was no answer. Desperation turned to fear as I tried again and again, each call going straight to voicemail. The hospital released me later that day with a prescription for painkillers and a sense of dread. I returned to our apartment hoping Martin would be there, but it was empty. His belongings were still there, but there was no sign of him. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. I called his friends, his coworkers, anyone who might have seen or heard from him, but no one had. It was as if Martin had disappeared off the face of the earth. Panic turned to a deep, gnawing fear. What had happened to him? With no leads on Jack, I turned my attention to the strangers from the bar. I went back to the bar, hoping someone might remember them or have information. The bartender vaguely recalled the group, but had no useful details. They were just faces in a crowd, there one moment and gone the next. I posted pleas for information on social media, shared photos of Martin, and begged for help. Friends and family rallied around me, offering support and assistance, but the days continued to pass with no word from Martin. Just when I was beginning to lose hope, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A woman named Lisa contacted me through social media. She had been at the bar that night and had seen me with the strangers. More importantly, she remembered seeing Martin outside the bar looking for me. Lisa agreed to meet with me and share what she knew. Her account was the first real lead I had. "I saw your husband outside the bar," she said. "He looked worried, like he was searching for someone. I didn't think much of it at the time, but now I realize he must have been looking for you." Lisa's information gave me a glimmer of hope. If Martin had been looking for me, then he hadn't just disappeared voluntarily. Something must have happened to him. I took this new information to the police, urging them to take another look at the case. With Lisa's help, the police managed to track down security footage from outside the bar. The grainy video showed Jack arriving, looking frantic. He spoke to several people, likely asking if they had seen me. Then, just as he seemed to spot me in the crowd, he was approached by a group of men. There was a brief confrontation, and then Martin was led away out of the camera's view. Armed with this new evidence, the police intensified their search. They identified the men from the video as part of a local gang known for drug trafficking and other criminal activities. It seemed that Martin had inadvertently stumbled into something far more dangerous than a simple bar fight. The police believed that Martin had been taken against his will, possibly as leverage or because he had witnessed something he shouldn't have. They reassured me that they were doing everything they could to find him, but the uncertainty was agonizing. The days dragged on, each one an eternity. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, and couldn't think about anything other than finding Martin. My friends and family tried to be supportive, but their words of comfort felt hollow. The only thing that mattered was finding my husband and bringing him home. I joined support groups for people with missing loved ones, hoping to find solace and strength from others who understood my pain. Their stories were heartbreaking, but they also gave me hope. Many of them had been through similar experiences and had eventually been reunited with their loved ones. I clung to their words, determined not to give up. Weeks turned into months, and just when I was beginning to lose hope, a breakthrough came. The police received an anonymous tip-off about a location where Martin might be held. It was a rundown warehouse on the outskirts of the city, a place known for illegal activities. A SWAT team was assembled, and I was told to stay home and wait for news. The hours that followed were the longest of my life. I paced the floor, my mind filled with all the possible scenarios. I prayed for Martin's safety, for his return, for an end to this nightmare. One afternoon, just as I was beginning to lose hope, the police called. They had found something. I rushed to the station, my heart pounding. The officer in charge sat me down and showed me a series of photographs. They were grainy, taken from security cameras outside the club. In the photos, I saw myself with Cody, Alex, and the other strangers. But then, to my shock, I saw Martin. He was there, watching from a distance. The officer explained that they had found footage of Martin following us that night, watching as I got into the taxi with Alex. The final piece of evidence was a video of Martin speaking to Alex outside the club, handing him a wad of cash. That evening, Jack walked through the front door. He looked disheveled and tired, but otherwise unharmed. Relief and anger surged through me simultaneously. "Martin, where have you been? The police have been looking for you," I exclaimed. He sighed and sat down, avoiding my eyes. "I'm sorry, Rachel. I didn't mean for it to go this far." His tone was not pleasing. It was somehow scary and intimidating. I was scared to even ask what was going on because his face showed another side of him that I never knew existed. As I was still confused by his apology for throwing his phone at me, I got so confused about why he would throw his phone at me. I'm sure every girl knows that if your man throws their phone on you, it always means nothing but trouble, so I knew there and then that I was indeed in trouble. He asked me why I had embarrassed him like the way I did. I didn't know what to say, so to get a clear picture of what he was referring to when he said I had embarrassed him, I opened his phone, and to my surprise, the phone had a video of me dancing like a hooker in the club. Another video was me going hand in hand with one of the strangers from the previous night. I was super embarrassed myself. I was really disappointed in myself. I had thought it would be an innocent party, with no videos or pictures, but I guessed wrong and my husband got them. I didn't even know where he got them because I only knew his friend at the club, so I was sure that he was the one who sent Martin the picture from the hotel and took a video to show how intoxicated I was. Martin was in a mixture of hurt, disappointment, and anger. That time there was no way I was going to deny anything because the proof was before us. He was disappointed at the fact that he had thought I would behave since he had said he was going on a business trip, but apparently he was not on a business trip. I got confused when he told me that, so I waited for him to elaborate more because I myself was starting to get angry that he had made me a fool and said he was going on a business trip. Was he stalking me?
No.
For real, everything was confusing until he took out a box in his trouser pockets and told me that he was testing me. He wanted to see if I was faithful when he was not around, just as I had appeared to be when he was around. And it turned out that I would do anything to avoid being bored and alone, not even thinking about the consequences of my behavior. He was disappointed at the fact that I had acted like a hooligan, like a person who didn't have a husband and was not married in clubs. He was really hurt, and it really hurt me that I had disappointed him like that. He asked if we had started lying in our relationship. I was confused by his question. I tried to convince him and told him the same lie that I had already told him. But the man of the house did the unthinkable. He threw his phone at me and told me to watch the video again. What I saw almost made my heart stop. I tried explaining to him and apologizing, but instead the guy just gave the greatest slap of them all. I couldn't believe it, I was so shocked and my whole body just froze. He literally told me that he had thought I was different, but I was worse than his previous girlfriends. He was so angry to a point that he even called me names and said that I had gone to that party to get those men's attention, and that was why I was wearing a skimpy and revealing outfit. I felt so disrespected by Martin, but because I knew that I was the one at fault, I decided not to pay attention to it and humbled myself and apologized for my behavior. I told him that I didn't know that he was coming back on that day, and I had wanted to get some fresh air because I was tired of always being cooped up in the house. We argued a lot to the point that he told me that if I had used my thick skull, I would have known that he was coming back because he had called me so many times, but I was unreachable. He told me that I had disappointed him, and he would make sure that I regret ever going out of the house and went to that party because he was going to make me feel the pain that he was also feeling. I wondered what he would do because it's not like I had cheated on him or something. Or maybe I did because on the video it showed me kissing with some guy that I don't even remember while another was holding me on my waist and spanking my ass. But is that even cheating? Another thing I don't even remember doing until Martin showed me the video. It was so embarrassing and humiliating I had wished for the ground to open up and swallow me at that moment. After our heated argument, he told me to pack my bags and move out of his house. I was so shocked by his sudden decision. I begged him while crying, kicking and apologizing, but he was hearing none of it. He even insisted to help me pack and told me that he won't be in a relationship and even live with a cheap person who goes around allowing other men to spank her and kiss her and say she was drunk. I just couldn't believe Martin. I tried talking to him in a civilized manner, but he didn't want to hear it. He wanted me gone. I went to our bedroom and packed my clothes. I told him that I was going because I wanted him to calm down and talk about the issue in a civilized and mature manner. Instead of answering me, he just looked at me like I was the most disgusting thing that he had seen. That really broke my heart. I went back home with a heavy heart. I just couldn't believe that the only man who had shown me genuine love had given up on me and dumped me like a used toilet paper. It was really a rough time for me because weeks passed and I had heard nothing from Martin. I even tried calling him hoping that he would answer, but it seemed like he had blocked my number. During those weeks, I had decided to log onto my social media platform and maybe I would find him online so I can speak to him. But to my surprise, I was met by the same video from the party, and there was a caption that said, "Sometimes we fall in love with people thinking they are the one, only for us to find out after years of being together that the person you love is actually a snake in a sheep's skin. After this, I am never going to forgive her, and I don't think I would ever be in any relationship again." That caption took the last straw of being patient and hoping that my man would somehow get back to me. It drove me straight to depression. I had not only broken my relationship, but I had also broken the heart of the man that loved me and has been there for me when no one was. The only man who knew me when I was down, happy, or stressed. I had jeopardized that and it got destroyed because of my stupidity. 2 months later, my mother called our church pastor to pray for me, then got me a virtual therapist because I didn't want to face the world. I had my therapy sessions while at home. Yes, my mother was very disappointed at me when she heard that I had gone to a club and to a party with strangers and not intentionally cheated on my fiancé. She got angry at me and gave me a silent treatment for a week. My breakup with Martin really shattered me, and to top it up, the video that he had posted on his timeline and the caption almost drove me to an early grave. I didn't know the damage that I had done to Martin's heart until I read that caption. He hated me, well, I think he still hates me. 1 month later, I had started to heal. I knew that somehow I had to move on and try to live with the fact that what happened had happened, and there was nothing I would do to change it. My mother convinced me to start focusing more on my catering business that I had abandoned for years. My mother was the one taking care of my business, and I am so grateful to her. My relationship with Martin made me forget some of the things that were putting food on the table. From that day forward, I learned the value of balance and considering the impact of my actions on others. While it's important to let loose and have fun, it's equally important to be responsible and mindful of those who care about us. I'm still on the healing journey, even though it's really hard having to get my heart to move on from Martin. I had been drowning myself in alcohol because of the depressing stage I was in. I had lost my husband, my family, my friends, my image and reputation was tainted. I would always drink and cry myself to sleep every day, regretting everything that I had done. I would question myself and ask where I had gone wrong and what wrong did I do besides going wild at the club with strangers. My only fault was allowing the guy called Alex to manipulate me and lead me to bed with him, only for him to humiliate me like that because he had started being obsessive over me and I didn't allow him. While on the other side, the person I had called a friend and thought she had my back no matter what had turned on me and ganged up with my enemies. But I couldn't blame any of them because at the end of the day I was the one who was married, and I was the one who should have made sure that I didn't do anything to taint my image or destroy my marriage. But I did the complete opposite, all in the name of I wanted to feel free and let loose. There was no time to cry over spilled milk anymore, so I had to try to get up, dust myself off and move on. As much as it was not going to bring back what I had lost, but I had to bring back myself. So I attended AA meetings because of the alcohol abuse, while talking to my therapist about what was happening, and she helped me a lot in picking up the pieces that were scattered in my life. About a couple of months later, I was back on my feet again. I continued with what I loved doing, which was exploring new places and focusing on my job as an interior designer. The only difference was that I was no longer working for someone else's company but myself. I knew there and then that happiness is found within yourself, and you create your own happiness without going out and doing things that you would regret later. I also learned that everyone was born alone, so you shouldn't try and find happiness or validation elsewhere. You only have yourself in this world and no one else. But I learned that the hard way, but I'm grateful for the lessons I have learned. As the months turned into a year, I continued to focus on my personal growth. I pursued new hobbies, traveled to places I had always wanted to visit, and built a fulfilling life on my own terms. I learned to find joy in the small moments and to appreciate the strength that came from within. I also continued my therapy sessions, using them as a tool to stay grounded and to keep working on myself. Dr. Evans was a constant source of guidance and encouragement, helping me navigate the challenges and celebrate the victories. In time, I opened myself up to new relationships. I met people who shared my interests and values, forming connections that were built on mutual respect and understanding. These new relationships were different from what I had experienced before, healthier, more balanced, and deeply rewarding. I learned to communicate openly and honestly, to set boundaries, and to prioritize my well-being. These lessons were hard-earned but invaluable, shaping me into a stronger and more confident person. One of the most profound lessons I learned on my healing journey was the power of self-love. I came to understand that true healing begins with accepting and loving oneself, flaws and all. I forgave myself for my past mistakes and embraced the person I was becoming. I practiced self-compassion, treating myself with the same kindness and understanding that I offered to others. This shift in mindset allowed me to let go of guilt and shame, replacing them with hope and optimism. As I looked back on my journey, I realized how far I had come. The wild night that had once seemed like the end of everything had become a catalyst for transformation. I had faced my deepest fears, confronted my shortcomings, and emerged stronger and more resilient. I knew that my healing journey was ongoing and that there would always be challenges to face. But I also knew that I had the strength and the tools to overcome them. My future was bright, filled with possibilities and new adventures. You know, healing is not a destination, but a continuous journey. My experiences taught me the importance of self-reflection, personal growth, and the power of self-love. As I moved forward, I carried these lessons with me, knowing that they would guide me through whatever challenges lay ahead. My journey was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the transformative power of forgiveness and acceptance. It was a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there is always a path to the light, and that true healing comes from within. A year later, after I had even forgotten what had happened in the past, I was happy. My life had finally fallen into place. Thinking I had finally found my happy ending and my business was going well. Jonathan had proposed after a year of us dating. Well, he had tried proposing after a few months on our relationship, but I turned him down, which had led to a very huge argument. Thinking I was stringing him along and I was stuck on my ex-boyfriend, which was kind of true because I hadn't fully recovered from the breakup. and I still needed more time to learn more about him and learn to love him fully without looking for Alex in him. He didn't talk to me for days until he came back to his senses and allowed me to explain why I had turned down his engagement proposal. Since then, I knew that Jonathan loved me despite everything and anything. He saw me for me. But then there are always cockroaches who always try by all means to destroy a good thing. So months after Jonathan had proposed for the second time, someone had decided to just wake up and want to ruin my life. Jonathan showed a video of me dancing on the club's table during the trip that I had taken with my bestie, Cody. And unbelievably, that person also posted a picture of getting all kinky and naughty with the stranger that I had met the night I went out with Cody. My past mistakes were catching up on me really bad. I didn't know what to do. I was truly shocked and surprised by the sudden humiliation that person had done. Jonathan got angry at me for hiding such an incrementing history. He also dumped me and called me a snake because I didn't tell him the whole truth about my past while he had poured everything on me about him and his past. I understood his anger and he had every right to be, but I couldn't beg him, I couldn't allow myself to nag and beg another guy like I did with Martin. So I told him that if he wanted to leave me like how my ex-husband did, the door was open. The only door that was closed was the door of begging and nagging. As much as I somehow wished he had done things differently and didn't leave, but I couldn't, and I didn't stop him from leaving. He told me that he couldn't be with a woman who didn't respect herself, and if he was to stay and try to make things out with me, it was not going to be the same because he would look at me and see the video and a picture of me in the club. I knew there and then that all the love, realness, and care was actually fake. I mean, if you love a person, you accept them with their burden and past tense. So why couldn't and why wouldn't he do that? Ever since then, I didn't even try to get into any relationships. It had only been me and my parents. And I had been so much at peace and happy. I am now living my life for myself, and I am truly happy without any man. My small mistake taught me to look deeper in people before letting them in my life and use the love word. As much as I had done wrong by Martin, do you guys think I took the right decision not to fight for him? Or do you think it was a good idea to let go of Jonathan? Please give me some tips and advice on how I should have dealt with the issues. Hello, kind people of Reddit. Today you will hear the story of how my girlfriend tried to fool me but made a fool of herself only. I, male 30, was dating my girlfriend, a female 38, for around a year. I work as an accountant in a multinational company. My girlfriend used to work in a cafe. We met in her cafe only. Her cafe was near my workplace. I liked going to a local cafe to have my coffee, rather than going to Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know why, but the coffee of a local cafe hits different. So yeah, I used to go to that cafe frequently. We knew each other's names since I was a regular there. I used to talk to her about how I liked my coffee brew and stuff. We were friendly with each other. I went to the cafe in the evening. I was reading my book when she came around and told me that she had to close down the cafe for the day. I was starting to get up to leave when I realized it had started to rain outside. The rain had started pouring completely out of nowhere, so I didn't even carry my umbrella. I was waiting outside the cafe on the pavement for the rain to end so I could walk back to my place. It was pouring so much that I couldn't even see anything. Soon she came outside and started waiting with me on the pavement. She asked me about the book I was reading. It was Murakami. She said she reads his work as well and really likes it. For those of you who don't know Murakami and his work, let me tell you that it's really rare to find people who have read it and enjoyed it. Otherwise, people usually give you a look. Anyways, coming back to the story, we started talking about books and other things. We didn't realize how quickly the time passed and it had stopped raining. We talked for more than an hour, just standing on the pavement, and no one of us realized the time. We became friends from that day onwards. She would always give me a smile. I didn't realize, but I started to get eager to go to the cafe and see her again. It sort of became like a habit. I started to visit the cafe even on weekends just so I could see her. It was safe to say that I had developed a huge ass crush on this girl. I found her really pretty and really sweet. I just didn't know if she was single or with someone. I thought of clarifying that sooner rather than later. And so one day I waited for her on the pavement when she was closing down the cafe. She was surprised when she came outside and found me waiting. I told her that I thought of walking together till the train station. We started walking together towards the train station. She told me about the opening of the bookstore near her cafe. She told me she visited there and it seemed like the place that I would enjoy. I was touched that she even remembered me. I then asked her if she went with her boyfriend. She smiled and told me that she went alone. I was relieved to hear that. I asked her out on a date that night. She said yes, and that's how we started dating. I remember this weekend distinctively. It was a few months after we started dating. My girlfriend was staying at my place for the weekend. I remember that we were lounging on the couch in my dimly lit living room. We had gotten fresh popcorn since it was a Friday night. We had made it a habit to spend our Friday nights curled up together, watching random YouTube videos and sharing laughter at the absurdity of some content creators. I remember how my girlfriend got excited as she clicked on a video titled, "Hooker Wins 4K USD Prize." She laughed and told me to watch it with her. The video featured an attractive young woman recounting her story as a high-end escort. She had been hired for an exclusive party, and at the end of the night, she was awarded a cash prize of $4,000 for being the most sought-after companion. The woman's excitement and pride were evident as she displayed the wad of cash before the camera. She had a confident grin plastered across her face. I was shocked to know such things even exist. I had to go through so many numbers and files to make money, and this woman, that much amount in a single night. My girlfriend was equally shocked as well. She said she can't even calculate how many days it will take her in the cafe to make that amount of money. I don't know why, but a strange knot of fascination and unease formed in the pit of my stomach. "That's a lot of money," I said to her. My girlfriend nodded absently, her gaze locked on the woman in the video. "Yeah, it is. I mean, it's definitely not something I'd ever do, but you can't deny the money is tempting." Her words got stuck in my head. I started thinking if financial allure was enough to persuade people to betray their morals. I wondered if my girlfriend can get tempted by this too. I quickly shunned the thought from my head when my girlfriend laughed slowly and suggested we watch something less controversial. I dismissed the growing thought in my head. It was completely irrational. My girlfriend had never given me any indication that she would do anything to betray me. If she didn't like watching something like this, how could she do something like this? I thought to myself. The next few days passed quite normally. I'd forgotten about that afternoon and that YouTube video. Since we started dating, I kept visiting my girlfriend in the cafe. Everyone in the cafe knew me on a first-name basis by then. But a few days after that weekend, when we watched the YouTube video, my girlfriend's behavior changed. Whenever I used to call her asking if I should come to the cafe and she was free, she would tell me that she was quite busy and to come another time. We both were quite busy with our work on the weekdays, but we had a pattern where she would spend the weekend with me at my place. She had spent almost all the weekends at my place since we started dating. She started telling me that she couldn't come with me as she had to work late for some other reason. I believed her because I had no reason to doubt her loyalty. We haven't been dating for longer, but she seemed like an honest person, and our relationship was also going quite well. We started meeting less and less. But I didn't doubt that anything was wrong because every time we would meet, she would meet with so much affection that it made me so happy to notice that something was wrong. I shared this with my best friend. He has been my friend since we were in college. I was a commerce student, and he was a computer science engineer. He worked at an IT department of a multinational company just like mine. He was also famous or infamous for his hacking skills. I shared with my friend how sometimes I felt that my girlfriend was avoiding me, but whenever she would meet me, she would be all hugs and kisses. He laughed at that and told me that it was common with all girls. He told me how his girlfriend would do the same thing. He said she would also act mean on texts and then got cute when they met. I laughed at that. I hoped that he was right, and it was just that. I didn't have much experience with relationships, so it was possible that I was making mole out of a hill, but I couldn't shake off the unease feeling that would come when my girlfriend told me that she wasn't free to hang out with me or can't spend the weekend with me. I called my girlfriend on a Friday afternoon. I wanted to ask her what time I should pick up from the cafe. Just as I called her, I hoped to God that she spends the weekend with me. I missed her. She picked up the call and told me that she has to run some errands and has plans with her friends from the cafe, so it's better if she stays at her place. I was really disappointed, but I hid it well and told her to enjoy the weekend. I then hung up the call. I was not sure that something was amiss. It wasn't like her to cancel plans for 2 consecutive weekends. As the time passed by, I knew that I couldn't ignore my suspicions any longer. The need to find answers had become unbearable, and I vowed that one way or another, I would unravel the mystery that changed my girlfriend's behavior. I decided that I will confront her and have a face-to-face conversation regarding the difference in her behavior. I called her on Monday and told her that I wanted to see her. I thought that she would give me some excuse again, but to my relief, she agreed to meet me. We decided to meet at a restaurant which was near both our workplaces. She told me that she would meet me there directly. I was waiting for her in the restaurant itself. When she came, she hugged me directly. She laughed. Her laugh sounded so contagious and genuine. It made me feel like everything was perfect. Once she settled down in the booth opposite me, I finally took her in. I haven't seen her properly for around 2 weeks. Every time I asked her, she would give me some reason. I didn't even know if it was genuine or just an excuse. She looked quite different that day. She was a barista, so it was obvious that she wasn't exactly rich. I'm not judging, just stating facts. To be honest, it was her simplicity that attracted me towards her in the beginning. But that day she was wearing jeans which looked like they were new and of a really good brand. She had a fancy bag with her. What caught my attention the most was the necklace she was wearing. I knew about that necklace when a friend showed me what his fiancée wanted for her birthday. I remembered that brand. It was Pandora, and I was sure it cost somewhere around $300 USD. She didn't used to have that kind of money to purchase things like that. I asked her how she got that necklace. She hesitated for a bit, but then told me that she wanted it for a long time, and when finally it was on sale, she used her savings and got it. I believed her. We ordered our meal. I began the conversation by asking how she was. She gave me a smile and told me that she was fine. We chit-chatted for a while. I asked her if there was any reason why she was ignoring me. At that time, I wasn't sure if I was overthinking or I actually saw guilt on her face for a second before she hid it. She came forward and held my hands. She told me that I was overthinking. I had told her that I had a habit of overthinking things. I didn't know if she was using my overthinking as an excuse to defend her actions, or was I actually overthinking? We talked for a while and everything seemed okay. There was nothing wrong about her behavior in person. She was still laughing, still smiling at me. I believed her that I was just overthinking and everything was okay between us. One thing about my girlfriend was that she used to usually hesitate when we would go out on dinner. She didn't like that I was spending so much money when we could have just had dinner at home. We even laughed about it. One time I told her that I don't think too much about money, and she replied sarcastically, "'Cause you have loads of it." We laughed then. I was just doing well. My job wasn't the highest paying job in the city, but it did well for me. I always picked the tab because it came naturally to me. My girlfriend never offered to pay, and I didn't want her to either. It had become a ritual sort of between us. However, that day when the waiter got our bill, she stopped me when I was getting my wallet and told me that it was on her. It was strange. In all the months we dated, this had never happened. I couldn't resist myself and asked her why she insisted on pay. She shrugged like this and said she thought for a change, she should pay as well. I told her she should spend her money wisely. She seemed offended by that for a second, but then quickly recovered and nodded. She told me that I should head back to my office as it was already past lunchtime and she would go to the cafe alone. I didn't like the idea. I told her that it's fine that the break is over. I could still drop her to the cafe, but she was adamant and told me to go to the office straight away. I hugged her and told her that I would like to see more of her. She nodded with a smile and we both went our way. Everything was going fine then. We would text each other throughout the day and she would go to sleep early at night. That's what she told me. I would spend the nights working or scrolling through YouTube since I had nothing better to do, and I had a habit of sleeping late. One night when I was scrolling through YouTube on my television, the channel with the hooker video started playing. It must have come in my recommendation because we watched it that day. I was already bored, so I thought, why not watch it only? They were having that party again. There was a guy with a mic who was introducing all the hookers in that party. He had announced that the winner would get $6,000 prize that night. They had increased the amount, I thought, and laughed. My laughter died immediately when the guy introduced one hooker to the camera. She was completely in makeup and a very tight dress. She was actually dressed as a hooker. I couldn't have recognized her if I hadn't spent so much time with her. On the television screen was my girlfriend, the same girlfriend who told me on our first date that she hated makeup and revealing clothes, the same thing she was wearing right now. I rubbed my eyes to make sure I wasn't seeing someone else. but I was sure as fuck that it was my girlfriend. She told her name to the guy in a sultry voice. That wasn't her real voice, but it was still hers. She didn't even tell her real name. I was actually confused then. I thought maybe it's someone else who is identical to my girlfriend. I had to do something to figure it out. I started pacing in my living room as the show continued on and kept showing all the hookers. I thought that I'll just call my girlfriend and talk to her. It will wake her up, but I needed to find out if the girl on the TV was my girlfriend or not. I dialed her number, but she didn't pick up. I kept calling her again and again, desperate to hear her voice. I then decided to go to her home to check on her. We both had a key to each other's house for emergency purposes. I thought that I'll just go and see her sleeping on the bed and then come back. As I drove to her home, I kept praying in my head that I found her in her home. I didn't even want to imagine what I was going to do if I didn't find her in her bed. With a heavy heart, I reached her apartment and unlocked the door. The apartment had all the lights off. I tried to calm myself, thinking maybe she's just sleeping and that's why, and switched off all the electricity. I went to her bedroom and opened the door. I switched on the lights and the bed was empty. The room seemed to shrink around me. I felt like the air was thick with tension and deceit. My heart was pounded in my chest, a relentless thud echoing through my body. I stared at the empty bed in her bedroom, my mind racing with questions and accusations. My suspicion had come true and my heart broke. The girl who promised me that she will never break my heart had done exactly just that. I felt so broken and so lonely in that moment that I had never felt. I got out of her apartment and got in my car and drove back home. I laid down in my bed as I started thinking about the whole situation. My girlfriend was a hooker. That much was clear, but there were still so many questions in my head. My palms were slick with sweat as I clenched them into fists, nails digging into my skin. The pain was a welcome distraction, grounding me as I grappled with the devastating revelation. How long had she been hiding this from me? Was our entire relationship built on a foundation of lies? I came back home and started pacing in the living room. I couldn't understand what was going on. There were so many questions, but I had no one who could give me my answers. How long has she been a hooker? I kept thinking. I felt nauseated as I thought if she had always been a hooker. I started thinking of all the signs in the beginning of our relationship. There must have been something off about her if she was a hooker, and how could I have missed it? I kept thinking, but nothing came to my mind. When I had started dating her, she was a simple girl who worked in a local cafe and enjoyed reading Murakami. Who was this girl on TV? As my mind got filled with all these thoughts, I started having a headache and then went to take a painkiller. I woke up the next morning on my couch. I didn't even remember falling asleep here. The medicine worked and I must have fallen asleep, I thought to myself as I checked my phone. My girlfriend texted me in the morning. I read her text. "Sorry, I was asleep when you called. Call me when you wake up." This was the text she had left me. I knew she was lying. Only thing which angered me more was that I was falling for her lies since God knows when. At this point, I was convinced that our entire relationship was nothing but just a sham. I switched on the television. I played the same YouTube channel that I did last night. The latest video was aired sometime around 3 a.m. My girlfriend was the winner at that party and she had won $6,000. I had felt enough hurt now. I couldn't behave like a heartbroken teenager anymore. My girlfriend had thought that she was the player here, and she could play me, and I would not bat an eye on her. I never doubted her because I trusted her. Now that the trust is gone and I knew her reality, nothing was stopping from making her pay. I decided to show her that she cannot escape the result of the damage done by her. I started thinking how I was going to make her pay. It didn't take much time to figure it out. She did all this for money, so now I was going to take that away from her. Even though I knew her truth, I still decided that before taking any action, I had to get sure about what she was doing behind my back. I was just thinking about all this when I got a call from her. She told me how she missed my calls because her phone was on silent and she was asleep. I told her it was fine. I didn't tell her anything about the previous night and acted normal. I confronted her earlier because I trusted her. I believed her to tell me the truth. Now I know she was betraying me and I had no intention of telling her anything. She told me she was leaving for work and I wished her a good day. I ended the call after that and got ready. I didn't go to work that day and instead went to her apartment. I knew that she had already left the apartment and was in the cafe. I entered her apartment and went to her bedroom. I wanted some evidence to confirm what I already knew. There was nothing in there except bags of quite designer brands. She had definitely gone shopping with her new money. My eyes then fell on her laptop. It was placed on her dressing table. I opened it. It already had an open browser. I found what I was looking for in her laptop. The browser had a hooker's website open. The account was already logged in. You must have guessed it by now. It had the profile of my girlfriend, just with a different name. The pictures were her, the email address, the PayPal details, everything belonged to her. I saw her chat threads with various men. She was charging $150 for one meeting, and all these men were paying that. I felt like throwing up. The woman who I thought was the love of my life was actually leading a double life, and I had no freaking idea. I tried to find out how long it has been going on. The website finally showed that her profile was only made around a month ago. I opened the calendar on my phone and checked that date. I was not very surprised when I saw that her account was created on a Friday. It was the same Friday we watched that damn YouTube video. Everything started making sense. I remember that day. My intuition was right. My girlfriend can and has betrayed her morals for money. I was now sure that I wanted to execute my plan and take revenge from her. She betrayed my love and trust for money. If only she had asked, I would have given her everything I owned. I then went to another cafe to grab some coffee. I called up my best friend, who used to be a hacker. I told him to meet me at that cafe. By the time I settled down after ordering my coffee, my friend had arrived too. I told him that I had already ordered coffee for us and asked him to sit with me. We settled down and I told him everything from the starting till the end about my relationship and what I found the previous day and that morning at my girlfriend's apartment. He was shocked when I got to the part of the previous night and that morning. "What a bitch," was his first response. I had called her that quite a few times in my head already, so I didn't stop him. Before any of you give me a lecture about disrespecting a woman, please know she was living a double life. I had no respect left for her. He then asked me what I was going to do about it. I told him that I don't want to let her go so easily. He nodded to that. I knew he would understand, and that was the reason I had only called him and no one of my other friends. I told him my plan. He was surprised and shocked when he listened to it, but I didn't need to convince him to agree to any shit. He was already in it. I told him that I wanted to strip her off everything. I wanted all her money gone, and I wanted her on the streets since she enjoyed being there a lot. He asked me how I was going to do it. I told him that he had to take out all the money from his PayPal account by using his hacking skills. I told him that I was going to make her homeless. He told me that I was taking a big step and asked me if I was ready for it. I told him I was ready for it and to get it done as soon as possible. He asked me for her email ID and I gave it to him. He left the cafe and I went to execute another part of my plan. I went to her cafe and found her behind the corner. She gave me a smile when she saw me. Her face was glowing. It wasn't the glow from love. It was the glow from her bank balance. I smiled, thinking how I was going to take that away from her. I hugged her as she came to me. I told her that I missed her. She said she missed me too. I asked her if she had some time to sit with me. She nodded and we settled on the corner of the cafe. We talked for a bit. She finally told me that her lease of her apartment was ending soon. I took that as my opportunity and told her she could move in with me. She seemed shocked and surprised that I had suggested that. She asked me if I was ready for that sort of commitment. I told her why not. She made a face like she was calculating something in her head. Probably how much money she would save on rent if we moved in together. She agreed and told me that she was really happy to start this chapter of life with me. I told her I was happy as well. She called her landlord and told him that she won't be renewing her lease as she was moving in with me. I gave her a fake smile and then left for the office. She called me around the evening telling me that she needed my help to pack her stuff and to shift everything to our home. I told her I'll be there to help her through everything. I had almost called her out then and there on the call, but I wanted to see her reaction when I told her that her game was over. I kept my calm and went to her place to help her pack everything. She asked me if I was excited. She was grinning from ear to ear. She told me that she can't wait to live with me. I lied through my teeth and told her that living together was going to be amazing. We were done in a few hours and then went to our place. Everything fitted in my truck, so we didn't need to call anyone for help. We just made our way home while she gave me her sweet smile throughout the drive. One night had changed things so much. Earlier, I used to love her smiles, but after I knew everything, I felt like throwing up when she smiled at me like that. We placed all the boxes in the living room. Just as I was done with that, my friend's message came. He told me that he would need some more time to transfer the money. Fuck. I didn't want to play this pretend game any longer, but I had to. I kept listening to her as she told me her plans on how she was going to make changes to the interior of my place. I almost laughed because she had no idea that I wasn't going to let her spend a single night here. The thought of her devastation brings a sick satisfaction to my gut, like a twisted knot of pleasure. She has no idea what she's in for. Finally, I got the message from my friend that it was all done. He told me to text him again when I was ready and everything will be gone in a second. I left a sigh of relief. I continued the act for a bit longer. I told her that I was too tired from packing and moving all the stuff in, and that we should take a break and watch YouTube for some time. She agreed. She was scrolling through social media on my tab when I clicked on the video in which I saw her the other night. She didn't pay attention to it in the beginning, but when the mic guy started introducing the hookers, her eyes went up. She still didn't realize what was happening and tried to change the channel so I didn't see her. I kept the remote out of her reach and told her that the best part was coming. She got shocked just as her part came on the television. She started crying then. I laughed and told her it was too late to shed those. It didn't affect me at all. She started crying even more then and told me that she can explain. Save it, I snapped at her. I've seen the messages on your laptop, the filthy things you've been doing for money. She still begged to let her explain. Although I knew that nothing she could say could justify what she had done, I still told her to speak. Maybe because I knew I wanted the actual reason behind it as well. She started speaking. I already knew what she was telling me, but I let her speak. She started speaking between her sobs and told me how it started after she had seen that video on YouTube that day. She told me that she saw that they were giving the prize of $6,000 and she wanted the money. She had to become a hooker first to go to win that prize. That's why she had created that account and started all this. She kept crying and told me that she had decided to end things after she had won that prize. She told me that she never meant to hurt me like this. It just had gone out of control when she realized that she could make so much money with this. It started out as a stupid way to make money. I thought it was harmless, but then the greed took over, and I couldn't stop, were her exact words. I scoffed at her. I told her it didn't matter if she meant to hurt me or Jot. The damage she had done couldn't be erased. I was done with her. I told her that since she won the prize, I had a congratulatory gift for her. She looked at me with confusion on her face. I texted my friend and her phone started getting notifications after a second. She looked like she was going to faint as she saw the money being debited from her account. It didn't stop until it reached $0. The remorse and shock on her face satisfied me a lot. She asked me if I had hacked her account. I just shrugged and chose not to answer. She then got angry and told me that I cannot do it, and she'll file a complaint to the police. This made me laugh really bad. I asked her if she was going to tell the police how she had so much money in her account when she was a barista. I also reminded her that all the sites she used were illegal in our country, and also the prize money for which she betrayed me. When she finally realized that she couldn't do anything about it, she started crying again, begging me for forgiveness, telling me that we can figure out anything as long as we are together. She told me she just needed one chance to show me how guilty she was. I told her that I couldn't care less about her or her sorry. I told her to get out of my property as soon as possible. I took her boxes and kept them outside as she kept trying to stop me and persuade forgive her a chance. She told me that she has nowhere to go and no money either. I told her that she should have thought about it before betraying me like that. I also told her that the sites she was using to get customers were banned as someone informed the authorities about them. We both knew who informed the authority about them. She kept crying and wasn't leaving when I finally told her to get out and that she wasn't welcome here. She left the apartment crying. Usually I would have felt bad if I made someone cry like that. But that day, all I could feel was absolute satisfaction. She deserved this. Even though I got played, I made sure that she couldn't trap someone else like me. I settled on the couch with my beer and called my friend to thank him for everything. I told him to anonymously donate the money to some charity. I didn't want my hands on that filthy money. It was good that it could help out someone in need. It has been more than 2 months since that day. I have stopped going to the cafe she used to work in. I don't even cross paths with her. I'm happy in my life without someone deceiving me every day. Sometimes my mind randomly starts to think about her and what I did with her. It's weird, but every time I think about her, I get a weird sense of satisfaction and revenge. I had taken my revenge and put an end to her deceit, but I still feel maybe I went too far. I discussed this with my friend and told her the same thing. I asked him if I did the right thing. I told him that we know that she lied to me and she betrayed me, but what I did was that the right thing. He told me something that makes a lot of sense. He told me that sometimes we gotta fight fire with fire. He was right about that. That bitch deserved it. Words of my friend, not mine. Even though I had taken my revenge and made her suffer for her actions had made it hard for me to trust someone again like that. In our short span of relationship, I had grown very attached to her, and then she went and broke my trust like that. This made me realize that anyone can break your trust at any point. I'm trying to finally trust people again because it isn't fair that I stop trusting people who have done no wrong to me. I'm moving past that tragic relationship and all the pain it has caused me. I hope that my noon gets played like my ex played me. Anyways, if you came this far, thank you for listening to my story.